Yes. All right. So 65% currently have voted. Feel free to keep voting as I read off the results. Looks like we've got a great smattering of folks from across the United States and a few international folks joining us today. So welcome everyone. For the question, how did you hear about this webinar? Vast majority of you said email from APH, so good to know that's working. What's your job title? About 50% said O&M instructor. We do have some TVIs, assistive technology specialists, transcribers, rehabilitation professionals, students, and others joining us today. So let us know in the chat if I didn't read off your job title. For the question, are you a a guide dog user? 66% said no. We have 16% who said yes, and 19% who said not applicable. For the question, are you a Victor Stream, Victor Trek, Trekker Breeze user? 58% said no, 27% said yes, and 15% said not applicable. And finally, do you use or teach an accessible GPS solution? 45% said yes.
Beautiful.
So excellent. So we'll learn more about some HumanWare solutions today. 40% said no, so hopefully you'll take a lot away from our webinar today. So thanks everyone. I'm going to close down the poll and close down the chat in just a moment. We'll be opening those chats up as we launch polls.
All right, thanks, Betsy Ann. So let's let everybody know. One final welcome in to Dust Off the Snow. It's time to get moving with HumanWare and Leader Dog. Let me get this back up here so I can, here we go. Okay, so some ground rules, some things to know for today. As we've mentioned, there is no ACV REP or any CEU credit for that matter for today. We do have closed captioning. We're going to ask you to hold your questions till the end because we're going to have the chat closed during polls. And then at the end, we're going to gather all the questions up together, answer as many of them as we possibly can. And we appreciate your patience with that. Our presenters today, we have Peter Tucic from HumanWare. He's the brand ambassador for Braille products.
Can you go back to that previous slide, Paul? Just, I might add for the audience here, this would be Peter and the newest addition to the Tucic family, that would be Ivy Mae Tucic in Peter's hands. So unfortunately, the chat is closed, or we could have a collective awe going on throughout the so congratulations.
Oh, you did have it covered.
Peter,
Thank you.
yes.
Oh, we have a 2-week-old, so we may hear her. She may make an appearance. You never know on these recordings. So thank you,
right.
thank you.
All right. And Leslie Hoskins from Leader Dog, who's the Outreach Services and Community Engagement Manager. She's also going to be talking to us. And in fact, in just a moment, she's going to be starting off the webinar. So I will stop my screen share and let her take over.
All right, so we can see Leader Dog, but I'm not sure we can hear you all of a sudden again. Can you say something?
Now?
Yep, now we hear you.
All right.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. All right. So I'll go ahead and get us started. Like Paul mentioned, my name is Leslie Hoskins. I'm a certified orientation and mobility specialist, as well as the outreach services and community engagement manager at Leader Dogs for the Blind. And I'm very excited to be here today to share with you a little bit about our programs and services, as well as how we incorporate accessible GPS into our program. So a few things to know about Leader Dogs for the Blind. We are a nonprofit organization located in Rochester Hills, Michigan, that was established in 1939. And we work every day towards our mission of empowering people who are blind or visually impaired with lifelong skills for safe and independent daily travel. Leader Dog does not receive any federal or state funding and receives no payments from insurance companies. So we rely on voluntary contributions to fulfill our mission. And with that, all of our services are provided free to our clients, and that does include room and board and also airfare to Michigan. So on the screen, there's a picture of a gentleman wearing sunglasses, and he's walking his leader dog, who happens to be a yellow lab, and both the handler and the guide dog are looking at the camera. So again, we offer these free programs, and the three programs that we have are orientation and mobility, so white cane training. We also offer guide dog training, and then a summer experience camp for teenagers. So the first one, our orientation and mobility program, we founded this in January of 2002. We started our very own O&M program to help individuals increase skills and meet their goals of traveling independently, whether that be with a white cane or a guide dog. So our O&M program does not have any skill requirements, and many times we're giving a client their very first cane. Or sometimes people are coming in who have had lots of training in the past and are looking for a brush up. So on the screen here is a picture of a young female crossing a street with her cane, and the O&M instructor is behind her. Our orientation and mobility program is a 1-week residential program with one-on-one instruction from a certified orientation and mobility specialist. So throughout the week of O&M training, a client typically receives anywhere between 25 and 30 hours of direct instruction. The week is completely individualized, and training takes place in numerous environments. So again, the O&M program has no skill requirements and is available to anyone who's 16 years or older. One of the unique things that we've done with our O&M training is we've actually broken it up into a couple of different options. So when you go to apply for O&M, you can kind of select which training you would prefer. And what this does is it really helps the clients or prospective clients understand all the different options and what we can provide, as well as give us an idea of what their goals are during this week. So we've broken it down into 4 different categories. The first one being introduction to O&M. So this is going to be a really great option for, like I said, somebody who's never had cane training in the past, or is maybe thinking about, should I start traveling with a cane? The second option is O&M brush up. This is great for somebody who's maybe had formal training in the past, but maybe it's been 10 years, or maybe their vision has changed since then. Maybe their physical ability has changed. It might also be a really great option for somebody who's been traveling with a guide dog for many years and is looking to brush up those cane skills. Our third option is O&M for guide dog readiness. And this is a really, really good program for somebody who's thinking about a guide dog and they're just really not quite sure if it's the right move for them. We really talk about realistic guide dog expectations. So what is your role as the handler? What is your role as, or the role of the guide dog? And kind of break down any of that. So really to figure out and navigate that decision prior to coming in for class. And then lastly, we have what we're considering our advanced O&M. And this is going to be for someone who is looking to travel more confidently in very difficult travel environments. Maybe for somebody who is constantly having to analyze new intersections and new environments because they're, flying from here to there. And so they're looking to advance their O&M skills, and maybe they want to incorporate some technology into their training. And of course, we have to talk about our guide dog program because this is the one everybody knows us for. And this is where clients are specifically matched by our guide dog mobility instructors with a guide dog to fit their needs. So some of the things that are taken into consideration are a client's pace, their travel environment, and any other unique traits to that individual. Our guide dog mobility instructors really do take a lot of time to learn as much as they can about a client before deciding on the perfect guide dog for them. Currently, same as our O&M program, we've really understood that it's not a one size fits all as far as training goes. So we've tried to make some unique training or delivery method options to fit everybody's individual needs. So the first one for our guide dog program is going to be our typical traditional on-campus training. And this is a 3-week residential training that takes place on our campus. And it really takes advantage of time away from home distractions to help solidify client skills, understanding of working concepts, and bonding with a new dog. Another great thing about being on campus is not only do you get the support of the GDMIs, but also of peers going through the same thing. And of course, our comms that are here on staff too and ready for any questions. The second option that we have is in-home delivery. So to come and stay on campus for 3 weeks is a really big commitment, and not everybody can do that, whether that be for your job. Maybe you have a medical concern. Maybe you're caring for your family. Whatever it is, we understand that it's not always realistic that somebody can come stay with us for 3 weeks. So an in-home delivery is a really good option. This is when an instructor would travel to the client's home and provide one-on-one tailored instruction. Typically, that training lasts up to 10 days, so it's great because you can work on those routes that are very specific to you. Our third option is our flex delivery option, and this is really a combination of on-campus and in-home delivery. So for the on-campus portion, it's shorter, about 2 weeks, and then you also get that follow-up of the home instruction as well. So it's kind of a really nice combination of those two delivery methods. And then lastly, we have our deaf blind program. So this is a 3-week training that takes place at Leader Dog's campus and is specifically designed for clients who are deaf blind. The client to instructor ratio is much smaller and a lot of more one-on-one intention for that program. So on the screen here, there is a woman kind of hugging her black lab who is in a harness, and she's got a very big smile on her face. And of course, I want to talk about our summer experience camp. I'm not going to say it's my favorite program, but it is top up there. And this is each year we host a free week-long summer experience camp for 16 and 17-year-olds who are legally blind, and they come from all over the US and Canada. So during this camp, we focus on leadership skills, mobility options such as a guide dog, accessible GPS, and really making friendships and memories to last a lifetime. So during this week, we do a ton of fun stuff. We go tandem bike riding, rock wall climbing, zip lining. We play beep kickball, and just so many fun and interactive activities. One of the days they're actually issued their very own guide dog for the entire day, and they're paired with a guide dog mobility instructor. And throughout that day, they can really ask all of those questions about what it's going to take to be successful with a guide dog. And they get direct feedback. They also just get to understand how much work goes into it. So they're responsible for parking the dog and feeding the dog, and they have to have a meal with the dog. So really getting some firsthand experience of what that would be like for them, so they can consider all their options and make the best choice for them. Honestly, the week is designed to be fun and challenging by helping the campers navigate through those transition years from teenager to adult. So on the screen here, there's a picture of a couple years ago, because of course, this last year we were unable to have our on-campus camp, but this I believe is from a couple years before that. And it's a group of teens, and they're standing under a large tree. There's probably about 20 of them. Some are standing and some are kneeling, and they're all kind of smiling. It was a wonderful group. We also have some virtual learning options that are new to us, and we're excited. As I mentioned, our on-campus summer experience camp, we were unable to have last year due to COVID. And so we came up with a virtual summer experience camp, and it was a ton of fun. We had 38 campers from the US and Canada, and we did some really fun virtual activities. So they still talked a lot about guide dogs and had a guide panel with guide dog mobility instructors. They got to meet other campers similar to themselves and make connections. We talked about leadership roles and how to be a leader. So there was still a lot of great things that came of the virtual summer experience camp. However, we're hoping to get back to both in-person and virtual this year. We're going to provide both options, hopefully. And then, of course, we had Tom Talks. Tom Talks stands for Technology, Orientation, and Mobility. And this we kicked off in January, and it was for 18 to 24-year-olds. And it was specifically talking about next steps in independent travel. We talked about career development and networking and professionalism. And it was a great, great group with lots of really good discussions. So we're really excited about these new programs. All right, and I believe somebody has a question for me.
Yes, Betsy Ann, can you put up the next poll for us, please? We just want to know if you've been following along. So the question is, what is the cost to an individual who's interested in participating in any or all of the 3 services that Leader Dog offers, those being the orientation and mobility training, the guide dog training, or the summer camp? What's the correct answer? Is it $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, or there is no cost to an individual for these services. 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, or no cost.
Do you want me
Great
to
to
answer or keep waiting?
We've got about 60% of the vote in. Also, I want to let folks know we've opened the chat just briefly. If you have any questions, you can drop them in there. We've had 62% vote now, so you can still vote before I end polling. But it looks like 3% said 3,000, 2% said 5,000, 1% said 7,000, and 94% of our polling audience said there is no cost to an individual for these services. So, Leslie, what's the right answer?
There is absolutely no cost. So those of you that thought maybe it was 7,000 are going to be delighted to hear that it is all free. And that does include, again, room and board. So to stay here on campus, we provide all the meals, everything like that, and airfare. So if you're traveling from, Arizona or California or anywhere, we actually cover that flight cost, and we do pick you up at the airport and get you back to our facility and everything. So we take care of all of that.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I'm going to end the polling and close the chat.
All right. So now we'll move into and talk about how do we incorporate technology and accessible GPS into our programs and services. So one thing that all these programs have in common is that they continue to develop and change throughout the years, just like our technology that we use and how we incorporate it into our training. So LeaderDog has been incorporating accessible GPS technology into our programs and services since 2005. And we've continued to update the device throughout the years, and we are currently using the Victor Reader Trek from HumanWare. So when LeaderDog first started using GPS, we did a survey of clients who are using the new technology and found that by using accessible GPS when traveling, our clients reported being less anxious while traveling. And they also stated that they felt like a more confident traveler. So two very strong reasons for LeaderDog to continue incorporating accessible GPS into our training. On the screen here, I do have a picture of the Victor Reader Trek. So we incorporate GPS into our guide dog training by offering all North American clients a Victor Reader Trek. So we send the GPS device to the clients prior to coming into class to begin exploring it and getting familiar with the device. We then offer phone support prior to coming into class to answer any questions or walk through any problem solving that they might be having. And then during class, when they're here on campus with us, or even in that in-home delivery method, whichever delivery method they're using, all of our guide dog mobility instructors are trained to assist clients with any GPS questions. And then, of course, we have our extended services team that continues to support that after training. So our clients are given the GPS device free of charge, and it's really meant to be that secondary device to help our clients feel more confident and experience less anxiety during traveling. The other program we really incorporate our GPS or accessible GPS into is that summer experience camp. So all of our campers are given a Victor Reader Trek and are taught how to use it throughout the week of camp. So during camp, we do so many fun activities, and incorporating accessible GPS is just one of the ways we do that. But some of the things we do are scavenger hunts. So the kids are responsible, they're broken up into groups, and they're responsible for getting clues and navigating to them. A fun thing that we do is that the bus does not move until everybody has the appropriate address or landmark in their device. So we get that peer-to-peer support and one another helping each other out. We really enjoy when they're all going off at the same time. It kind of sounds like minions, and so it always gets a chuckle from the kids. And one of the things they like to do is make landmarks, fun landmarks. So when we're going around and practicing that skill set, sometimes it's Chewbacca's house, and sometimes it's Harry Potter's house, and other times they all record the landmark again at the same time, so it sounds like those minions when it's going off because everybody's voice is the same. So we do a lot of really fun activities just to make sure these kids are actually using the device, and that when they get home, they're going to feel confident continuing to use the device. And we also provide a lot of professional seminars incorporating accessible GPS into O&M lessons and the sequence of teaching that we use and have found to be very successful. So we presented at numerous conferences, and we have also an on-campus professional seminar once a year where we provide firsthand experience with the device and the steps of incorporating it into lessons. We're also going to be offering some virtual continuing education credits available. Hopefully this week it's going to be launching, and we've provided some virtual learning for that. So kind of a webinar style, again, that you can do at your own pace to really learn the sequence of steps of how to incorporate it into your O&M lessons. On the screen here, I did kind of put a run through of the sequence that we use, and starting off with familiarization to the device. Then we listen to the device without touching any buttons. We then start introducing buttons and exploring those. We do what we call segment identification, and that's really just being able to identify your location, and so that you could provide that information to somebody if you had no idea where you were at, kind of how to get that information using the device. We talk about personal points of interest and landmarks, how to get to those landmarks, how to get to an address and input an address. And then we do open area travel and what we would consider a mystery tour. So kind of applying all of those skill sets together in the last step. So that's kind of how we incorporate all of this new technology and the accessible GPS into our programs. And I am happy to answer any questions as we get towards the end after we hear from Peter about all the great things about the Victor Reader Track.
One quick question for you, Leslie. Let's say someone's not really interested in getting a guide dog. Can they still participate in the other programs?
Absolutely. So one of the great things about all of our programs is that you don't have to be interested in a guide dog. If you or somebody you know is just interested in learning more about O&M or brushing up those O&M skills, you can come for a free week of orientation and mobility with no desire to have a guide dog. That's totally okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to turn this over to Peter here in just a moment. But before we do, Betsy Ann, if you'll put out this next question. Now, we have not covered this yet. We just want to see how you're going to answer the question. So this is a true or false question. And we want to know, true or false, you're able to transfer maps from a PC and download maps from a Wi-Fi connection to the Victor Trek. True or false? You're able to transfer maps from a PC and download maps from a Wi-Fi connection to the Victor Trek.
We shall see. We shall see. We'll see what everyone thinks.
And we do it or not do it?
We're going to find out. We're going to see what the collective, I hear a collective head scratching going on.
We need the Jeopardy music going on right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We do. We need to find that sound effect and be able to kind of incorporate it.
Does anybody know who the next guest Jeopardy host is going to be?
I think it's still Ken Jennings.
Oh, is it Ken Jennings?
I think it is.
It's got like a month run.
Yeah, he's been on a mission.
Yeah, and then it'll be Savannah Guthrie next.
Is that right? I heard Savannah talking about that just the other day. She's nervous, apparently.
I would be nervous.
Going to be studying up.
I'd have to work on all my pronunciations of who knows what.
If it was Bosnian Jeopardy, you'd be good.
I'd be golden. Any Slavic, I could do that. All right.
We've had 69% complete our poll, so feel free to keep answering that question. But Peter, for the question, you are able to transfer maps from a PC and download maps from a Wi-Fi connection to the Victor Trek. 94% said true.
Yes.
6% said false.
Really? I think I'm sensing a pattern with our 94% because 94% also said it was free to attend Leader Dog stuff. So I'm sensing the 94% participation rate of correct answers is pretty awesome. It's very consistent, very, very consistent. And we'll be happy to know that this question is kind of a trick one because previously the answer would have been false. Previously, this was only doable over Wi-Fi, but we've launched an update to the Victor Reader Trek where it is now possible, and I'll be sharing my screen in a second. It is now possible to download maps from the website, and you are able to bring them over to your Victor Reader Trek that way. In addition to being able to do it the way we have previously which is over Wi-Fi, which can take a long time. And I'll be talking about that. So I'm going to share my screen, and we will be looking at the Victor Reader Trek support page, and I'll talk a little bit about what the new version is and what we did with it, and then I will walk us through how to download those maps or where we go. And once we do that, we'll have a look then at some virtual map browsing mode. So I will be demonstrating that as well. All right, time to share. And let's do this. All right. Now, I'm on our website, and again, www.humanware.com is my shameless plug for HumanWare, which is where I work as the brand ambassador of Linus products. What we're going to look at, though, we've really reworked this support page, and we certainly have this info, information available on there's lots of information on the HW Buddy application as well, which is our iOS and Android app that you can really keep abreast with what's going on at HumanWare. Also look at how-to videos, and there's a tab for written how-to guides and such. So that's there as well. But what we're going to look at is the website and really how we download and manage those maps. Because again, this was something that was not doable, and now it is. We heard a lot of feedback over the past couple of years with the product that individuals are saying, gosh, it just takes me so long to download maps over Wi-Fi. It needs to reach out to the server. It needs to download these maps. It's a slow process. And in fact, to do North America, if you were doing the whole country, would probably take you 10 or 12 hours. And we thought that is just a little crazy, quite time consuming. And we want to bring in an easier way for someone to do that. So what I'll show us is kind of how we're going to make that happen. And we launched version 2.1 of the Victor Reader Trek software in November of 2020. So this is out as of today. It's been out for a couple of months. We've gotten some very positive feedback, and we're going to look at how we do this. So again, version 2.1. If you are not running version 2.1, you will not be able to download these new HERE maps, which are the new map provider that we've gone to, which will be wonderful when we're traveling, and I'll talk about what HERE maps are in a moment. But on our website, if you go to www.humanware.com, you will click on support, and once you click on support, you would then click on Victor Reader Trek, and that's where we are here. So this is the Victor Reader Trek support page. Now, when we're here, what we're going to get to is there are a couple of pieces here. We see the documentation. So again, the user guide or FAQs are here. We have the link here to update or install the newest version of the Victor Reader Trek software. Again, this is version 2.1. I'm going to click this link just to show. This is where we pick the voice package that we would like. There are many offered. There are instructions here on how to install, and you'll be able to kind of read through these instructions, get a sense of how this works. But what you will also have is the update various package links. And you'll see here that after each sort of file name, you will have the names of the voices. So you see that this first one under North America is English and French. Then we'll have female English, female French, and so on. So you will have, there's a maximum of 2 voices. There are different packages here, and we do have language detection. So if you live in a city, maybe that, such as Montreal was always an example we use. HumanWare is a company based in Quebec, and a lot of the street names are in French. So they want the street names to be in French, but the directions to be in English and such. So we can auto detect and switch languages within the maps. So you can do that, but this is where you would go to download the newest software. Again, that can also be downloaded over Wi-Fi on your device. And you can certainly do that if you're connected to Wi-Fi. But this is where you can do it on our website. I'm going to come back to the support page, and we're going to look at the new map packages. And this is a major development. We heard a lot of feedback from individuals that the maps, right, we're just getting sort of outdated. The accuracy was becoming a bit of a question in terms of what we were getting as we traversed our environments. And we worked very hard behind the scenes. It is no small feat to work with map providers. There are not many of them, firstly. And secondly, there is a lot of licensing that comes into play. So it took us quite a while to identify and work with a map provider called HERE Maps, which we are very, very, very happy to have included and be working with, because HERE maps, HERE maps, are what they're using in autonomous vehicle research. They partner with if you go to HERE maps website, you will see that they are partners with Audi and Ford and all these different car companies. And that is the level at which we want to be a part of. We want to be a part of that type of accuracy. If they're going to use this in autonomous vehicle research, if they're going to use this in that very high precision sort of stuff, we want to be a part of it. So we worked and we were able to introduce HERE maps. And in doing so, we also gave any individual the ability to have access to all world maps. So on this link, again, we're on the Victor Reader Trek support page. The link here to install new map packages, I'm going to press enter on it or click this link, and you will see that these maps are all broken up by country, and they are broken up into regions or subgroupings. So for instance, we have some countries are all one. So you have, for instance, Saudi Arabia or South Africa. Those would be just one set of maps. But if we look at somewhere like, let's just say, Baltics, for instance. So these are all broken up, and it tells you if there are multiple countries or states in a package, you will be told what these are. So let's say I'm going to the Baltics, which I love the Baltics. If you ever get a chance to go to, Lithuania or Estonia, but you'll see here that these are bulleted. So the Baltics map package includes Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Belarus. And so you're able to download various packages, and you won't be able to get the whole world on your device because they will take up more than 27 gigs-ish, but you can certainly get all of Europe or all of North America and select countries in Europe. Or let's say you're taking a trip to Australia, you're taking a trip somewhere, you can absolutely manage these maps now directly from your PC, and you have access to all of them. Previously, we needed a serial number, and we would send you something, and you would pay for the map upgrades and so on for a different country. If you were taking a vacation to the UK, for instance, you would have to purchase it from us. Not anymore. So we're bringing all that in, and you would come here, and clicking any of these links will download the map package. You'll also see that in the United States, these packages are broken up into regions. So as I come down, and again, if you're using a screen reader, this is all extremely accessible. I'm using JAWS right now, but you can do a Control F as in find, and you could search for the state you're looking for to know quickly what package it may be in. If we look, we have different regions of the US. So here's the non-contiguous territories. That'd be Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and so on. We see East Central, for instance, includes Delaware, District, Washington, D.C., Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and so on. So these are all broken up. You can certainly have as many as you'd like in terms of map packages or regions here, but the HERE maps bring us a tremendous amount of updates in terms of the map accuracy. What points of interest are there? The street names. I live on a fire lane here in Chicago. My street is not on a lot of GPSs. You should see how lost Grubhub or any delivery drivers get trying to find my house. These maps identify it as a pedestrian road. And something as simple as that, again, I know these maps are current and greatly improved because that was something that didn't exist previously. So we've seen some great improvements on HERE maps, and we've also introduced map browsing mode, which I will talk about. But once these are downloaded, I'm going to move over here. I have a folder where I have these on my PC, and it's a matter of plugging my player in via the USB cord, and I can just transfer, copy and paste these maps onto my device. And there are instructions for this, but I don't have to download them via Wi-Fi, which again could take a long time. So the introduction of HERE maps we're very excited about. And with those HERE maps, we now have access to virtual map browsing mode. And that is what I'm about to demonstrate. And what that does is it really will augment our ability to understand our environment before we travel that environment. So again, we oftentimes with GPS, and we heard, Leslie talking about how it's being implemented, right, from a leader dog standpoint in terms of what they're able to do and bring it in. And GPS is a huge part of my daily travels. I use GPS apps as I cruise all over the country. Obviously, that's been put on hold the last year, but I am an avid user of technology. I use all sorts of things, but the GPS piece, it really is it's it's not our primary navigation method. We have to have those go to O&M skills. We have to use our orientation mobility sort of problem solving skills and traveling skills, and technology is there to augment or to help us as that supplementary sort of supplemental side of things. It's not meant to be used as our primary navigation device. We're using our canes or our dogs, our skills of travel, and that's very important. However, what we did bring in with map browsing mode, we can now come in and actually look at maps and look at them on the device before we actually get there. And I'm going to pause because I think we're going to have a question. I'm going to reshare my screen and get into a little bit of that map browsing for everybody.
All right, thanks, Peter. And as he switches up his screen sharing, Betsy Ann, I think she's already launched the poll. So the question is, a Victor Trek user can explore a downtown area in a nearby city with no GPS coverage. True or false? A Victor Trek user can explore a downtown area in a nearby city with no GPS coverage. True or false?
All right, I love it.
I guess that means like we could explore Lake Kalamazoo and we could look for that Bell's Brewery, technically.
We technically could. And had I have been more prepared for this webinar, in that sense, I would have pulled it up and actually gotten there and had it as a predetermined landmark. I picked one in Chicago in a unique neighborhood with some unique intersections that we'll be looking at. But you absolutely, well, I guess we're going to give away the answer to the poll question, but you certainly could pull up Kalamazoo and go right down. Let's think, Leslie, what do you got? Westnedge, wasn't that a main street in Kalamazoo? I think that's where my mom grew up. Westnedge Avenue.
Yeah, Westnedge or Stadium or
Stadium.
Drake.
Yeah, Circle.
Yeah.
There's like, or one of those. I love it. The zoo. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And I am going to share my sound this time, so you will hear my screen reader come through momentarily. What are they saying on the polls, Betsy Ann?
All right, with 62% having voted, true or false, a Victor Trek user can explore a downtown area in a nearby city with no GPS coverage. 82% said true, 18% said false.
Wah, wah, wah. That's all right. I like your kind of, it's like you're a news anchor with the percentage of currently reporting precincts, right?
There you
With
go.
62% of the vote in. I like
It's
that.
election night in America.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well,
Monday afternoon coverage. I love it.
I'm going to go ahead and close the poll.
We just need that Karnacki guy from NBC to sort of break it down by like district, right? So we can see specifically, right?
Yeah, right. 7% of the folks in the Northwest said false, and let's get into why that may be. They may have misheard that part. Yeah, if you can do that next time, if we can really get the logistics down, we won't call anybody out personally, but if we can find out regions, if Zoom gets that advanced, I think someone's gonna make a career out of Zoom logistics or something. I am going to share my screen, and we're going to be looking at my camera, so we may have a little bit of adjustment here, and you will also hear my device. So give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to mute my speech. All right. Now, are you able to see this, Sully? I want to make sure we're kind of in focus here, and making sure that everyone can see what I'm about to do. But on the product,
just push it away from you a little bit.
Just a little bit. This is the beauty of, how's that?
There we go.
All right. Wonderful. So again, for those of you who have not used a Victor Reader Trek, the whole point of this is we're trying to bring information that is relevant to a blind or visually impaired traveler. That information is more than just what street I'm on. Obviously, it's very important, and there are many apps out there that can do all of this as well. But the Trek does bring in some very unique features, and Leslie touched on them because they do such an awesome job at introducing things like open area mode and how great that is for a college campus or being in an urban park or somewhere that there is no street grid. There are no maps per se. And open area mode is something that sets the Trek apart from any other device out there that can be used by a blind or visually impaired traveler, because it does allow us to drop those landmarks in space, if you will. And then the other piece is this map browsing mode, which just does not exist on any of the iOS applications, and I use quite a few, but they do fall short in these sorts of pieces. And that is why HumanWare is still very much committed to the standalone GPS solutions. We also know that touchscreen devices can be a challenge for many people, not only those who are newer to vision loss, but also they can be a challenge when you're in the cold. It is very cold outside right now. You're probably not walking around holding your phone up in the air trying to get directions from it. With a device like the Victor Reader Trek, it is push button. We believe very much in different shaped buttons, adding tactile representation on the 2, the 4, the 6, and the 8 keys to kind of anchor us into spots, different shapes for our bookmark or our go-to keys. And that helps us as well when we're teaching the device to somebody who is not as fluent or familiar with technology. It is a push button solution that allows us to have connectivity and functionality as we travel. The other piece that's very important here is when we're traveling, we're not using data. So this device is connecting and seeing the satellites. We don't need a phone plan or a data plan. We're not using Waze or a GPS app that will kind of burn through our battery. And that's really another advantage of it, in addition to all of the book reading and audio side of things, which is for another time. But there is a lot more functionality than just the GPS on a device like this. What I'm going to demonstrate, though, and this is a huge step forward, and we've been asked for it for a long time, is what if I'm going to a convention or a new hotel somewhere, or I'm at camp, right? I'm at summer camp in Rochester, and I want to just know what it's like. I want to walk around my neighborhood at home, or I want to walk around downtown Indianapolis. I can do that on the device now. And when I do that, I'm able to get intersections as well as points of interest, and I can walk everywhere. I can just move through that environment so that once I go, I already have the lay of the land in my head, right? I'm using it to build environmental literacy. There are 3 ways of doing this. So we can get a virtual map browsing position from our current location. So if I were outside, which I am not, it is freezing, I would have not been able to do this webinar from outside, I would be able to, as I walk, say, I want to pull up and virtually explore ahead of where I currently am, or I want to turn right and go down this street, right, or something, without actually having to do it. So you can acquire it from your current position. You can enter an address. And one of the options now when you enter an address, and we'll see this, is you can choose, do you want instructions for a pedestrian to get to that location? Do you want driving directions to that location? Or would you like to enter map browsing mode at that location? And the third way you can pull up virtual map browsing mode is to select a predetermined landmark. And that's what we're going to do here today. So there are 3 ways to pull up that virtual map browsing environment. The easiest way, and what we're going to do, is do it from a predetermined address, one that I've already saved. To do that, on the top left, so again, we have a numeric keypad on the device, and above the number 1, we have a square button called the Go To key. I am in orientation mode on the device, and orientation mode is we get to by pushing the circular button above the number 2, and we will toggle between offline, online, and orientation mode. When we are on orientation mode, the go-to key is where I can select a landmark, a predetermined landmark, as my destination. So again, if I push the go-to key, I'm just going to tap the square button.
Select a landmark as your destination. 14 landmarks. 826
Now,
South May Street.
What we hear
Chicago, Illinois.
Is we are hearing that I can select a landmark as my destination, and I can use my 4 and 6 keys to move through my pre-saved landmarks. I also have the option
Enter an address.
to manually enter an address here. So again, I'm using the 4 key or the 6 key to move through this menu. What I want to do, and I have lots of landmarks saved, and a landmark could be a previously entered address, or it can be a voice tag of like an actual landmark, more like a breadcrumb, that can be created by the user. So landmarks are both addresses as well as those points that can be dropped. I am going to select this landmark.
6,400 Illinois 64. Chicago.
This is on,
Illinois.
for anyone who's from Chicago, this is in Galewood. This is the northwest side of the city. And this is a neat neighborhood because it's on the border of a suburb and the city. And I like this because it illustrates what we can get from virtual map browsing mode. So it's a neat place to virtually explore. What happens is when I press confirm, which is the key to the right of 0. So confirm is, think of it as our pound key on a numeric keypad. When I press confirm on that, what will happen is I will be asked, do I want to get directions there? Do I want to walking directions, driving directions, or I can press 2 to enter map browsing mode at that location. So I'm going to do that. So again, go to key,
Select
and I
elect
find my
enter
address,
6400
and I press confirm.
Press confirm to start instructions. Press and hold if in vehicle. Press up to enter map browsing mode.
And we hear it said press up,
Warning,
which is 2.
turn instructions to a landmark may guide you through unfamiliar paths.
So it said press up, which is the number 2 to enter map browsing mode. I'm going to do that.
Entering map browsing mode. You are currently on West North Avenue, heading east.
All right. And we hear that we are on North Avenue. That's the name of the street. We're heading east. And at this point, I can virtually walk around. And the way this works, it's very straightforward in terms of how we move about our map. The number 2, right, our 2 key is going to walk us forward. So right now, if I push 2, I'm going to be walking east. Every time I push 2, east, 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 east. And I will move intersection by intersection. So let's do that. I'm going to press my number 2.
In 90 feet, three-way intersection, West North Avenue crossing North Narragansett Avenue on your left.
All right, so we hear that on my left, I have a 3-way intersection. Again, this information is relevant to a blind traveler, and that's what's very important here. We don't get that from many sort of apps that are out there today, right? In terms of mainstream apps or apps we use, we might get that I'm crossing Narragansett. We don't hear that it's a 3-way. That tells me a lot as a blind traveler about it's a T intersection. So I'm not going to be expecting some through traffic in front of me per se, coming from my right, because it says this is a 3-way intersection. Now, if I want to turn left on Narragansett Street, I could press the 4 key to turn left, where then I would be traveling north and my 2 key would walk me forward, north, north, north. Let's continue east though. I'm going to press my 2 key again.
In 440 feet, 4-way intersection, West North Avenue with North Mobile Avenue on your left, West North Avenue in front, and North Ridgeland Avenue on your right.
And again, I picked this neighborhood for this exact reason. We have streets that change names at these intersections because we are changing from a city to a suburb. We hear that on my left, the street name is different than the street on my right. And that's very important as I travel, again, to build that environmental literacy. I know it's a 4-way intersection, but it is a different street. If I turn left, I'm on Mobile. If I turn right, I'm on Ridgeland, and so on. So I'm going to walk forward one more time. Let's hit our 2 key. Again, we're heading east.
In 345 feet, 3-way intersection, West North Avenue crossing Harvey Avenue North on your right.
Okay, so again, I'm at Harvey Avenue. Now, let's just say I want to look at points of interest here. I'm thinking, what's around? Are there businesses? Maybe I want to eat something or know what's around. We can certainly always query that. If I press and hold my 5 key, which is where am I?
What's around? 10 items. 1. Jewel Food Stores. ATM. 6209 West North Avenue.
Now,
174 feet.
just saying to anybody who's ever been to Chicago, it does not get much more Chicago than Jewel. All right, this is our grocery store. And in fact, you would say the Jewel, usually, well, the Jewel, and say, I'm going by the Jewel. Now, just so happens the Jewel's right here on our map. We can look at points of interest. We get the address. We can certainly get directions to it if it was something far away.
Map browsing
We can
mode.
search for locations as well. So if you wanted to search for the closest Jewel or Best Buy or whatever, you can do that also. But the point here is that we can look at points of interest even while we're virtually map browsing. Now, I'm at this intersection. We heard that it's a 3-way. If I want to turn right, I can do that with the 6 key.
On your right, Harvey Avenue North.
And now I'm on Harvey Avenue. If I use my 2 key, I will be walking down Harvey Avenue.
In 618 feet, 3-way intersection, Harvey Avenue North crossing Lemoyne Parkway on your left.
And again, we're hearing that I'm at another 3-way. Now if I want to know what direction am I now walking, if I hit my 5 key, I will hear that I'm walking south
Heading south.
because I've turned right.
Near 1200 Harvey Avenue North. Current intersection, 3 ways. Harvey Avenue North crossing Lemoyne Parkway on your left.
And again, this would tell me that I can turn left on this street and so on and move forward. This is really crucial because it allows me to develop that environmental literacy to move around. And I am somebody who is very into this. I am very much I'm born and raised in Chicago, in the suburbs, and I really like to know where I am, but I meet a lot of kiddos and a lot of users who are not very familiar with their home environments. And this is a wonderful way to introduce this sort of technology. Sometimes, again, when you introduce this stuff, you don't want it to be a distraction. You don't need to use this with your young O&M students who are learning, because it can be a distraction. We don't want that. But the tools can be introduced, and there can be some major benefits to using a product like this, both in real time while we're walking around, as well as in this example, where we are kind of looking at our neighborhood and developing an understanding of our neighborhood. Maybe we're even then making a little model of it on a with popsicle sticks or something to help us understand where we are. And that's a great skill. And I love to see kiddos when I travel who are using this sort of technology to better understand their surroundings and develop that piece. All right. Now, with that being said, I'm going to bring it back. I know we have a couple of minutes, and I certainly wanted to take any questions. I know this has been kind of, quick and a very broad overview, but when I'm done with map browsing mode, I can certainly come back to my current location by pressing my star or cancel key, so to the left of 0.
Map browsing. Press confirm to exit.
And if I press confirm, which is the key to the right of 0, I will be back in my real-time location. Now, I am sitting in my basement office. I do not have GPS coverage. So if I try to do a where am I right now,
no GPS
it's going to tell me, hey, you're in your basement. Good luck with getting a GPS signal. But I can certainly, return or enter or exit open area, map browsing mode from wherever I may be. You can also drop landmarks while you're virtually exploring. So let's say you know that there is something there that you want to drop a voice tag. You can do that while you're virtually walking around. And we have gotten some tremendous feedback, both in regards to the new maps that we are using, again, here maps, as well as the ability to virtually map browse and just what those maps bring. We are absolutely thrilled. I'm so glad to be here, and we love partnering with Leader Dog. We love that we're able to work with them, and they've been a partner of HumanWare for a long time, and we're so glad we can continue to do this. So thank you for attending, and I hope this information was useful, and please ask questions. And thank you to Sully and Paul and Betsy Ann and everybody from APH for making this happen as well. We're always glad to be here, so it's fantastic.
Thank you, Peter. And let's go ahead and get the chat open. And as we get that chat open and you enter your questions in, I have a question for Leslie. As somebody who's had guide dogs in the past, I'd like to know, are the second and third options, the home option and the combination option, available to first-time Leader Dog attendees, or do you have to already have gotten a dog from Leader Dog to use those?
Typically, they try to have first-time guide dog users come into class to get the real full experience and have that peer support, and it's a much longer class, but not always. It's not mandatory that you have to come to class for your first guide dog. For minors especially, we only do home deliveries. So if you're 16 or 17, that's the only option that we offer. Yeah, there's lots of reasons that you'd get a home delivery. It's certainly not mandatory to come to campus for your first dog.
All right. So as those questions are coming in, anyone sees them can just shout them out.
I guess I should turn my speech back on. Maybe I could, let's see, hear those questions as well.
I know people were asking, it looks like, if we would give the Victor Reader Track to somebody who doesn't come to our training, and unfortunately we can't. So we only give the Victor Readers to our clients who are coming in for training and going to receive a service or a program from us at Leader Dog. And currently it's only for North American clients, and that's just because typically when we have international clients, we have to have an interpreter, and there's lots of things, and we just can't support that at this time, maybe sometime in the future. But we can't continue to do the follow-up support and all of that. So as of right now, we only offer it to our North American clients.
Leslie, do you have a recommended age for a first-time guide dog user?
So all of our programs and services are 16 and up. So that's one of the best parts about our camp, is that we really talk about realistic expectations of a guide dog, because we know so many of our kids, somebody may have told them a guide dog's the answer, it'll help everything, or they just think how fun a cuddly pet. And there is so much work that goes into having a guide dog. So you definitely want to make sure you are making an informed decision. So at Leader Dog, we will not service anybody under the age of 16 for a guide dog.
All right. Peter, we've got, can you drop breadcrumb tags to navigate indoors? Do the maps include navigation for trails, offered in woods per se.
Love it. So in terms of, so there's two parts to that. And indoor navigation is not something that is a part of the Victor Reader Trek. There's certainly, I know, to APH side, you can kind of get into the good map side of things. We know there will be some advancements with indoor navigation. HumanWare will certainly, hopefully, and I know we will play a role in that in some way as going forward, but not on the product as it stands. There's no indoor navigation capabilities. It really relies on a GPS signal. In terms of trails, generally those, the device will work in open area. Trails, they're not going to be navigable per se on like a hiking trail. However, it doesn't mean you can't use the device. I use it a lot when I go camping. I use it a lot because I can put myself into open area mode and mark the campsite. And then I can record a route and kind of do different things and drop landmarks in open area mode to traverse. So I might put one at the showers. I might put one at, that the trailhead or something. And that way I can navigate back to it. But it's not like it's going to follow those trails per se. The maps are really going to be the street grids that exist. We've also seen open area map use very neat in terms of people. There was the blind captain who was using it in San Francisco Bay to mark his fishing spots. So people have gotten creative. I will use it a lot in open area mode, especially again for that college campus or other areas, to use it when you're not on an actual street grid.
All right, Betsy Ann, if we could throw out that last question, because we are really getting close to the end of it here. So what is the age group of students attending Leader Dog's in-person summer camp in Rochester, Michigan? And our choices are 13 to 15, 14 to 16, 15 to 17, and 16 to 17.
I'd be happy to report that 26% of precincts are reporting.
Thank you so much, Peter. Back in the news studio, I can report that 76% are answering 16 to 17, with a steep drop down to 2% answering age 13 to 15.
Thank you, Betsy Ann. We really appreciate your attentiveness to these numbers. It speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
It's an honor to be reporting with you, Paul.
All right, Paul. We realize that there are some more questions in the chat, but we do have a hard stop. So, Paul, you want to take us to the end here?
Sure. I wanted to just very quickly. Do we have time for the last 3 slides, or do we want to let them go?
No, let's go ahead.
Okay. All right, real quick.
As they can anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do real quick. We want to mention the Mantis and the Chameleon. These are products that we have made in partnership with HumanWare. The Mantis is our 40-cell Braille display with the QWERTY keyboard. The 20-cell Chameleon 20 is available as well, which is the Perkins-style keyboard with the 20 cells of Braille. Both are available quota or non-quota. $15.95 non-quota, $12.95 quota for the Chameleon. And then the Mantis is $24.95 non-quota, and I believe $19.95 on quota. And then a really cool product, it would be considered low tech, but I think it's one of the neatest products that we have, which is APH's Tactile Town, which is a 3D O&M model. And it's got pieces that you can put in place to simulate a town, different buildings. You can make it as complex or as simple as you like. Great for teaching mapping skills, $479, and it is available on quota as well. And we really appreciate that. This is one of the products we love to show people when we were doing museum tours and people were coming in. It's one of the products we love to show everybody. And then finally, O&M Trivia. It's a action for Google Home, a skill for a device. I don't want to say it. I'll set mine off. But if you ask them to play O&M Trivia, you'll get questions and you can set the category for how advanced you want them to be. And it's a great way to brush up on O&M Trivia skills or just learn more about O&M Trivia. We really appreciate everybody coming in today and listening to the presentation. Hopefully you learned a lot about Leader Dog and about the Trek products and how you can use all those things in combination. So we thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Leslie, Sully, Betsy Ann. Thank you, everybody, for making this go off so smoothly. And thanks to all of you for coming in.